there's everyone in my family has kind of always had their own like sole trader or to had their own little business. And I think when you grow up in that, it's like, well, if they can, I can. There's nothing stopping me. Because I lost myself. I really did. You know, I lost almost 11 stone. Jeez. And yeah,
it's a massive amount, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is. And I didn't do it.
That's a whole person.
It is a whole person. I do skits sometimes and be like, you know, I lost a person. Where is she? I let people walk all over me. I am a completely, you couldn't, like, it's the polar opposites of who I used to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people can let them hold themselves back in life too, because of, well, other people's opinions, but also people hold on to a version of you. In their head. People will have a version of me in their head from 10 years ago when I started this. I think people forget that because we live in such a loud, noisy world where we're influenced every second of the day now, especially when we have phones in our hands. And people forget that like everything starts from inside. We already have everything inside of us.
My name is Kaz Mooney and I'm the host of Mooney Talks. Here we talk to successful individuals and find out the path they took, the decisions they made and the financial choices that they made along the way. I'm so excited to be joined today by Nicola Carolan, who is a best-selling author, an Instagram foodie and has over 150,000 followers across multiple platforms. Today, she's going to be talking about her journey as she went from a failed business in 2021 to completely changing her life and turning her life completely around. Well, Nicola, so lovely to see you here today.
So lovely to be here, Kaz. Thank you so much for asking me to do this.
So excited to have you on.
Thank you.
So I'd love to hear, to start with, your beginning. So more about your story from the very beginning. So from, say, teenage years.
So I've always had a job, my own little job, my own few bob to spend whenever I wanted. I think I had my first job when I was like 13, first year in school. My aunt is a hairdresser and she took me under her wing for the summer, and it kind of just went from there, I guess, with school. Every Saturday and every summer holiday, that's where I spent my time and had my own money, and sure, at that age, you'd absolutely love it.
And when you finished school, what was your plan then?
My plan, I always wanted to go to art college and be an art teacher. And just with the way I was between 5th and 6th year, didn't do the best leaving cert that I could have done. So I took the back door, did a level 5 course to do my portfolio for our college, and sure, we just had the best social life, you know, going around to all the colleges in Ireland with my friends in like a little fiesta, the whole lot of us with our big portfolio folders. And I got into DIT to do visual display design and merchandising, and I think that kind of comes around full circle to what I do now with food styling and my food videos and stuff like that as well. So
that's a very interesting course, I bet.
It was, but I'm the type of person, I think, that you've kind of come to see now, that I am quite introverted, extrovert, and I didn't even go to my graduation for college, but I took a year out after that, and I wasn't doing anything for that summer, and a friend of mine was running her own business, and I ended up literally travelling the whole of Ireland doing they're like opinion polls and stuff like that. There's not one back road in Ireland that I haven't seen, and it was such an incredible experience to go from being like 19 up to 21 to do that, and it was absolutely amazing. So I'm kind of like a jack of all trades at this stage.
And learning to talk to people and...
Absolutely. I've always been someone that's been not afraid to talk to anybody or to strike up conversation, and I definitely slotted in well there, I have to say, but it was more of the experience and the friendship, and just, I guess, it was
really get to know each other.
It definitely was, but also you learn so much at that age of, like, you know, it opens you up to the world, I guess, and also opens you up to, like, look at her running her own business. Like, look what she's doing. Like, where, like, she comes from, where I'm from, and, you know, definitely that was one of the biggest things. And also my mum has always ran her own business, and
that's what I was going to ask you. Where does this entrepreneurial...
Yeah, but it's always been in my family, even for my granddad. he would have had his own business within. They drove like cement trucks, and there's everyone in my family has kind of always had their own like sole trader or to had their own little business. And I think when you grow up in that, it's like, well, if they can, I can. There's nothing stopping me. So,
because there's a lot of fear that a lot of people would have about making that jump from being employed and getting that regular paycheck to suddenly becoming self-employed.
That is it's one of the scariest things I think about. And also like you're working on your own too. Like I know in the industry that we're in, which is great, like we can meet up and talk and like we can have our Christmas party together. But yeah, it's quite a lonely place at times when you are working on your own all the time, because
absolutely, it can feel lonely. And also it's that fear that if everything's not going right, that you're not going to get that regular paycheck and you're depending on that, especially with your family.
Exactly. But I think it's a great for me and you as well. Like we are so similar in ways. Our journeys and our lives are quite similar. Like both our youngest kids are like 2.5, 3. And I find what I have evolved into, like in the next phase of my journey as well, I find that like it gives me the opportunity to be the mom, to be there to make the school lunches, to, you know, do the homework. And I have this school, the hours of the school to work with and play with, and that's when like you thrive. That's when you get your work done. Even at night, like I find when the kids are going to bed, like God, that's when I do a lot of my work too. You know, I could work into like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes if we're on a deadline. You know yourself what it's like. So I'm very, very grateful and blessed for the life that I have kind of carved out for myself.
So you mentioned there that was your year out. What did you then go into? I
got an office job. And I worked for a big, it was like a TV company. So it was, well, I wasn't in TV, but like they installed the TV. But yeah, that was a great opportunity as well. Like, you learned so much about business. It was. And it was a local business in Carlow too that two brothers had set up. And just to see the way the world worked too in that aspect. And I went from there right up until, so leaving behind the whole college art experience. I went straight up then into just before I fell pregnant with my son. And then that's when I decided, well, look, something has to change. I was at a place in my life where, you know, I really wasn't or hadn't been looking after myself. I mean, we all go through stuff in our lives and you talk about your career and where that brings you, but also I think my career choices at that time as well was a lot to do with where I was in my head.
Yeah, your
too.
Emotions.
And also in my emotions and like what I gone through and just different scenarios and like what happens in like lives, you know. And also too, I think we maybe as a society, a nation, that we can get caught up in the, you know, falling into what we do, what we think we should do.
Yeah.
For other people.
Yeah.
Like to slot in. Yeah. To follow the herd.
Particularly as you become a mother for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think from leaving college up to then, like having my gap year and I suppose, you know, having a great social life, you know, it was wonderful. It was. I missed those days. I know. I'm actually having a midlife crisis at the minute. I don't know if I told you about that, but I'm at 37 now. I'm just like coming out of the fog and we're going back into like the midlife crisis. I know.
You're refinding yourself.
I am, because I lost myself. I really did. So like, let's go back to like when that was. I left work and I was a full-time mum for a couple of years. The place that I was in, social media was only kicking off at the time, Instagram and Snapchat. And I started vlogging my weight loss journey.
Oh, wow.
So that was a big part of, you know, where I come from.
Yeah.
Or where I am today, I suppose, too. And from there, you know, I lost almost 11 stone. Jeez. And yeah,
it's a massive amount, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is. And I didn't do it.
That's a whole person.
It is a whole person. I do skits sometimes and be like, you know, I lost a person. Where is she? I remember someone saying that to me, actually, a friend of mine. She goes like, you lost what I weigh. And I know, and I don't want to get into like that whole rigmarole of stuff because, you know, that's not the most interesting part of me. But it is obviously played a big part in where my career was going to take its next steps. because obviously social media was kicking off, and the whole, I suppose, creator world, what we know now, was the start of it all then.
And where were you sharing? How were you sharing your journey?
So Instagram primarily, and then obviously we had like Snapchat stories.
Okay.
And I had a huge like Irish and English following over, or UK following as well, which I still do. And yeah, it just grew and grew, and people were like, they couldn't believe that, someone, I suppose, from the country, I don't know, like from a small town, like not a small townland.
Yeah.
That,
was sharing that journey from the
I
start.
think so. Yeah, I did. Well, I wouldn't say it was from the very, very start, but it was pretty much, along the way. And it was like a 3-year transition, I suppose, from when I was 26 up to like 28. And then, I started a business kind of came about because of it, and a food business. And
wow.
Yeah, it was an incredible...
So this was your first business that you set up?
It was.
How was that?
It was... I obviously have transitioned from then to now, but it was one of the greatest experiences that I could ever have undertaken. I was quite young. Like still, I was only 28.
With a young child.
And, I missed out because of that on a lot of his younger years. Like my dad stepped in quite heavily there, and my mum, but definitely my dad, because he was retiring at the time. And if I ever say that those are the times that I missed out with him, because, I mean, when you're running your own business, as I should call it, it's heart attack territory, And I was gone at 5 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't getting home sometimes till 10, half 10 at night.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things, even though I was trying to do my best, because that's all you ever try to do. You just try to do your best for your family, to provide and to push yourself. I just said actually on one of my Instagram stories this morning, life begins at the end of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And like, if I didn't push myself, I never would. I knew I always wanted to, but going from like out of college into that area of my life, I let people walk all over me. I am a completely, you couldn't, like, it's the polar opposites of who I used to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people can let them hold themselves back in life too, because of, well, other people's opinions, but also people hold on to a version of you in their head. People will have a version of me in their head from 10 years ago when I started this. I'm not the same person, but also you can keep that version of yourself in your own head, which is going to keep you stuck in the cycle.
Yeah.
Like you're at that fork in the road, and but you just keep end up circling back around, do you know? But yeah, that business it was an incredible experience. The people I met, the good and the bad of it all, the heart attack, stroke territory that it can be at times, because it is so stressful, especially a food business. It's a lot of stress with, like, all the ins and outs of health, safety and whatever else. But yeah.
So when you say food business, like...
So it's all based around the healthy products. Healthy food products.
So you were creating what you would have loved to have found.
What I made online, what I made for my audience.
That's fantastic.
And because obviously that's where all the food kind of came and evolved from, was that, because I was sharing all these healthy recipes and or how I had turned, like what now you turn the Big Mac or that burger, the fakeaways into, and like that was one of the first things. That's probably one of the first ones in Ireland to do that.
That's
I suppose
that's a massive accomplishment,
definitely,
especially at age 22 or 20.
No, I was 27, 28. At the time.
Still, like, it's absolutely,
it's like come full circle, nearly 10 years now.
Yeah, that's crazy. And so that business then continued for a few years, did it?
Yes, it did. And we started so small, and then we grew and we evolved from a smaller factory to, literally building a factory from a shell with these massive freezers where you'd walk in and it was like walking into Siberia. Yeah. And you know what? The business side of it, like I said, can be quite stressful. Yeah. But the relationships, and that was one of the things when the business closed, was one of the things
when did it close?
2020 just absolutely creamed us.
In the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, it did. It creamed us. And look at what's meant for you doesn't pass you. Yeah. I'm a firm believer in that. But also when a door closes, a window opens, and you just have to keep going. That's it. But one of the biggest things for me was to lose not to lose the relationships. But when you spend so much time with people, and I mean, we spent every second of every day. I think that was one of the hardest things to transition from, was to move on from that, and you know, having those people in your life every day, to like being at home again as a mum, as a full-time mum. And I know I did enjoy lockdown at times. I know we all did, but like
it was bittersweet, I suppose. Lockdown.
I think for a lot of people it was a serious wake-up call and a realisation of a readjustment to life. And like you realised, oh my God, like look at all the time that I have missed out on. Not missed out on, I mean, we were always just trying to do our best, but like you realise where your priorities lie, I think, for sure, definitely.
And how was the emotions behind closing that business and having that public presence? Because I can only imagine that must have been difficult.
Yeah, it was. Because I was the face. It wasn't just my business. Yeah. I was a partner of it. Yeah. There was more than just me. But I was the face of it, because that was the Blondie range. And it was... I went into myself. I created 4 walls in my house, and you know, that was my prison for a few years. Yeah. And obviously in between that, like I was blessed to fall pregnant with Isla, and like, oh my goodness, like as I said, what's meant for you won't pass you. She is an absolute light in our lives. All my 3 kids are. Yeah. But you know, when someone is definitely meant to come into your life, and you know, at that time, because you know, and a lot went on with her pregnancy as well, but which was a lot to do with me just kind of going back into myself, and it's after taking me.
It must have been a tough time.
It really was. Yeah. Mentally, it was like one of the worst, I would definitely say. And yeah, my 4 walls were my my safe space. Yeah. And it took me a long time to start going out. This is the first podcast I've ever done, and
first of many, I'm sure.
But I love to talk, so here I am.
So you basically had to change things, I'm sure, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, there was a lot of readjustments, definitely. And there was a lot of, like, to where I am now. Even if you'd asked me this time last year, I know you said to me when we started this, it was like, I didn't think you'd say yes. And I was like, yeah, last year I would have looked for every reason under the sun to say no. Yes. And I think that's in life, so many people can just be held back by themselves.
And also, I think it's so important to, you know, show that it isn't always a straight path to success.
It's definitely not.
And sometimes we have to go through these trials and find a way out of them to progress onto the next thing.
It is, especially when you have all these things like that you were rhyming off earlier, like books and all these other different things, and you're like... Seen something wrote about myself one time, and they called me a failure, and I was like, yeah, but you know what? I'm going to keep standing up. I'm going to keep pulling myself up off the floor, and I'll fail again and again and again. I don't mind failing because I'm learning every single day by failing. But at least I try. Yeah. At least I tried. That's one thing I can say of anything I've ever done in my life. I'll put my foot forward and I'll try it, even if I don't succeed at the time. But eventually you will.
So you've gone now on a new journey of starting to reinvent yourself, not just mentally, but also with food, haven't you? Yeah,
like it's definitely come when you start in one spot, and it's like, here you are now, and have this love, but I've always had a love for food and cooking, obviously.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. Like, I look at food like Billie Eilish looks at Lana Del Rey at Coachella. Do you know what I mean?
Because that passion comes across.
It does. My grandmother was an amazing cook. My mum is too, like, you know. And I just remember standing. I came across, like, and you know, the television at the time when we were younger. I remember coming across a video with Jamie Oliver, and I think that's where the Naked Blondie name came from in the first place. It was where it came from, because he was a naked chef. Yes. And I remember just standing in the kitchen, like making scones or whatever else I was doing. I had this little cookbook at the time. I was only 12 or 13. I remember just talking my way through it. And I was like, I'm going to be a chef, or I'm going to be something doing this. And like, that's like the power of manifestation. Like, everything comes full circle. Like, you start where you are, and you're like, well, if you have some vision for yourself, and you keep on and you keep on, just chipping away.
You have
There's
to get
nothing
there.
to say that you can't get to where you want to be, for sure.
So you started sharing your passion for food, but now with a new mindset. How did that start? Because obviously you've gone from sharing your business closing.
Heavily sharing that, and, you know, to come to where I am now of, I think the passion from what I had years ago, I had lost as well, aside from myself, and didn't know who I was anymore. And like, you know, probably one of the worst places I was mentally in my life. And it definitely brought me back around. It's cooking. I love being out in the garden. I love my flowers, and I love to bake, and I love to cook. And even if I never shared it, it's therapy for me, Kaz.
Yeah.
Because my mind is never as quiet as I am when I'm baking or making something. Or
what would you say is the biggest change you've made to yourself?
Definitely healing from the inside out, Kaz. It has to start within. I think people forget that because we live in such a loud, noisy world where we're influenced every second of the day now, especially when we have phones in our hands. And people forget that, like, everything starts from inside. We already have everything inside of us, you know. And I think to find yourself and to find your own voice again. Yeah. It was very important for me because I was in such a bad place of, like, this victim mentality of like, why me? Why us? Yeah. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Oh, if I had done this, but like, you can't live in regret. You can't live in if and but land. Yeah. So I had to make the decision to stand up and move forward. If I didn't, well, I'd still be in the same place. Yeah. Just going back to the same thing. Your life starts at the end of your comfort zone, really.
And financially, that change.
Oh yeah, that took a huge. Yeah. Still paying for that. But you know, I'm always honest and blunt about everything. But look, it is what it is. Yeah. And you can't let things like that. If you were to let it get it in on top of you, then you'd never move forward. Yeah. So yeah, I just had to pick myself up and just think, well, what actually? Because, you know, like, your passions are your breadcrumbs to your success. That's it. Yeah. In a nutshell. And I love food. And I found the most, like, bringing back around my art, my creative side, and food styling. Yeah. And doing the food photography and the food videos. I absolutely adored. Like, I do not see it as work. Yeah. Like, how blessed we are to have the resources, the camera, the equipment, the food. And, like, food is so disposable and convenient that people just don't appreciate it anymore, Kaz.
Another thing that I want to talk about is you have this year gone on another weight loss journey. Yes. And I actually couldn't believe the before and after photos. Like, it was amazing because I obviously see you every day online. So to see the before and after photos was crazy. And before you followed a plan, but this time it's your own plan, isn't it?
Yeah. I am someone, and I think that's why I went into myself so much, because I wear my mental health on the outside. Food, not that food is my comfort, but it's, what's the word? It's like people who, like, I don't want to say an addiction. Yeah. But
like a security blanket of sorts.
It is. For me, it was. Yeah. And I was a big binge eater.
It's so difficult because if you have an addiction, say, to alcohol or to drugs,
you can just give it up.
Give it up.
My relationship with food was on the floor from years. It wasn't just... And this is what I did all my life. Yeah. Tried to slap a plaster on it. But really, it started within here. It's what I had to deal with. That inner child, that inner teenager, that's what you have to bring up. If you can face yourself in the mirror, Kaz, well, then there's nothing you can't do in your life. Literally, there isn't. I think this year has been one of the greatest. I said it recently in a post on Instagram. You will not see what I've gone through. You won't see the transformation because only I will ever know that. Yeah, it's been extremely this year. I know to other people it might sound cringe, but this year has been an extremely healing year, and I'm not the same person I started this year out to be. I know we're only just coming into 6 months. But yeah, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the relationship with myself. I'm my greatest love story, Kaz. And like, to be able to say that now, like this time last year, if you would have asked me, I wouldn't have done this for sure. But yeah, it starts with that love for yourself and the want to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
The binging, that unhealthy relationship with anything. It doesn't have to be just food. Like I remember, and I've said this before on social media, where there was some weeks that I bought food and shopping that I knew that I was going to leave us short. Because that's the impulsive. That's the slapping the plaster to what you don't want to deal with, you know? And that's where I am now. And I know you say there's a great transformation, but I think after everything I've been through and that journey that I've been on so far this year, that this is the last layers of me too. Just reveal to who I was always supposed to be, Kaz. You know?
Which brings me on to what's to come.
What's to come? I'm working on, well, obviously, I love doing my food videos and food photography, and I'd love to bring that more into fruition of, doing more food styling and stuff like that. And the, I'm starting I have a website under construction at the minute, and I'll have up my little portfolio of pictures and sharing recipes, and I'd love to do my own podcast maybe. This might give me the courage, the foot forward. I think I was definitely meant to be here. I mean, 44, 4. All the fours today. It was 111. It was 1 hour and 11 minutes to drive up here. So I was like, you know what? That's definitely a sign for me.
Yeah,
I need to be here today. Kaz said, I know. But yeah, that's where my next phase is going to be. We'll definitely have to do another book for sure. But yeah, I'm coming back around to find the courage to be the most authentic, true version of myself for sure.
I love it.
That's who I am, and who you see now, that's who I am. Not the past version of me that you have in my mind, or your mind of me. This is who I am.
Yeah. So to finish off, I like to ask all of my guests to answer a financial question.
Okay, hit me with it. Hit me with your rhythm stick.
So apart from your home,
okay,
what has been your biggest expense to date that you've spent money on that you're like, ooh?
Material, like
anything.
I don't know, Kaz. I don't really spend that much stuff or on me or on myself, I guess.
Typical Irish mother.
Honest God. But that's actually one of the things as well where, okay, it was maybe a bottle of perfume that I bought, and it was very expensive. But I'm not into designer stuff and all that kind of stuff that everybody else is into. I really am literally living my own world, so I do. But I think definitely it was maybe a nice holiday that we had a few years ago.
Lovely.
That we haven't got to go. My partner was sick last year, and that's a big life lesson too that we had,
Yeah.
His health took a serious knock,
What
and he was so
happened?
lucky. So he was born with a heart condition, and he didn't know. He was asymptomatic.
Oh my goodness.
And he ended up having a big heart operation last September. So that kind of put us in our tracks last year.
Yeah.
So we're just coming out of it all.
That's massive.
Yeah, no, it is. It was a massive life upheaval.
Yeah.
It really was. And yeah, we took a huge hit financially last year with him being out of work and stuff like that. So just, I was very grateful for the position that I'm in, to have the online presence that I have, to be able to do what I'm able to do.
Yeah. And to be at home helping, because even though he's at home, he wouldn't have been able to mind the
I was
kids.
able to be there for him.
Yeah.
To be there for him, to do what I needed to do, to be there for the kids, because he wasn't able to lift. He had a full, his whole chest bone had to be opened up, and so
that's massive.
what's meant to be is meant to be for sure, and the path that you're meant to walk, and even though you don't know what's around the corner, but my next. Do you know what? Now I will say there's the answer to your question now, right? I've told you this, but I haven't shared it. So this year was, along with everything else that I've kind of undertaken this year, which will be my biggest purchase, I think, to date. For me personally, just me, myself, that I've been saving money for. And that's to buy my first car.
Wow.
I've been terrified. I think it was the trust in myself for sure over the years. So yeah, at 37 years old, I learned to drive this year.
That is,
and I'm just about to
massive
buy my own
accomplishment.
first car. So, and to save for that, and to, it's not going to be a new car now, Kaz, but
No.
we
I
have
hope
to start small. You have to start small. So that's going to be my biggest personal purchase. Yeah, other than everything else that I have.
And that's your freedom as well.
That's good. Do you know what? If anything that I've given myself this year, both internally and externally, is freedom.
That's amazing. That's really inspiring.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on, Nicola.
Thanks, Kaz. Thanks for asking me to be here.
Thank you. Well, that was an emotional episode and really exciting to see the journey that Nicola has been on. I really am excited next week to share with you my next guest who's had a very interesting path as well.